Hi, today's review is the barbaric and brutal novelette, The Scarlet Citadel, by American author Robert E. Howard, originally published in January of 1933. The book that I enjoyed is a threadbare hardcover compilation that does not have a publishing house attached. Its origin is unknown, and it's somewhat deteriorated. The Scarlet Citadel was only the second Conan story to see print, yet it stands as a brilliant masterclass in how Robert E. Howard constructed his Hyborian world. It is functionally a blueprint for his later, only full-length novel, The Hour of the Dragon. Howard wasn't just writing brainless hack-and-slash pulp. He was weaving a tightly structured, mechanically sound narrative that seamlessly blended historical war fiction with Lovecraftian cosmic horror. The narrative is broken into 5 distinct chapters, utilizing a sandwich structural technique that frames intense psychological horror inside epic, macro-level military conflicts. Howard avoids a slow build-up. Chapter 1 drops the reader directly onto the bloody plains of Shamu. After a crushing military defeat, this instantly subverts expectations of the invincible hero archetype by stripping Conan of his army and his freedom within a few pages. In Chapter 4, Howard attempts to convey days of political collapse, rioting, and macroeconomic ruin inside Aquilonia in just a few breathless paragraphs. It feels heavily compressed, a rare moment where the pulp word count limits choke the narrative's breathing room. The middle act, chapters 2 and 3, transitions the story entirely out of historical fantasy and drives straight into dark fantasy and cosmic horror. Howard was a close friend and an active correspondent with H.P. Lovecraft, and that influence screams through the stones of the Citadel. The Lovecraftian adventure is fascinating. While a typical Lovecraft protagonist confronts these ancient, multifaceted terrors and immediately descends into permanent insanity, Conan reacts with a distinctly Howard-esque defiance. He experiences the cold, icy sweat of supernatural dread, but his response to the cosmic unknown is to grip his sword tighter, spit on his enemies, and hack his way back out to the sunlight. Rather than using generic fantasy monsters like standard goblins or orcs, Howard populates Sothalante's dungeons with unsettling, evolutionary or indescribable aberrations like Satha the Old One, a blindingly wide 80-foot blind subterranean serpent that feels older than humanity, or the youth-bound plant, a parasitic semi-sentient vine that leeches the literal life essence and soul of its victims while keeping them alive for centuries. Howard's prose shifts from kinetic battle verbs, hacked, clambered, splattered, to evocative, atmospheric sensory descriptions. Pliant scales slithering softly over stone, cold sweat, and dilated eyes. What makes this pairing brilliant is the mutual unease. Conan notoriously despises and distrusts magic, yet he is forced to rely on Peleus's supernatural transport, flying on a summoned creature, and zombie racing capabilities to make it back to his capital in time. Howard uses this contrast to show Conan's evolution. He is no longer just a reckless wanderer. He is a pragmatic ruler willing to tolerate the unnatural if it means saving his subjects. Howard uses the dialogue in Chapter 2 as a vehicle for his favorite thematic theses. Civilization is fundamentally fragile and inherently corrupt, whereas barbarism is pure, When the treacherous kings Amalrus and Strabanus demand Conan sign away his kingdom in exchange for wealth, Conan delivers a scathing critique of hereditary rule, saying the following: "You sigh for the pocket pieces of my people. I found Aquilonia in the grip of a pig. I did not inherit the crown. I took it with my own hands. I have not oppressed the people. I have lowered taxes. You inherited your crowns from your fathers, and you spent your life squeezing the blood out of your peasants." From a character writing perspective, this monologue elevates Conan from a simple brute to a populist, meritocratic king. It gives his eventual bloody vengeance a profound sense of moral justification. The Scarlet Citadel is Robert E. Howard writing at peak efficiency, while the economic and political fallout in Chapter 4 could have benefited from the pacing room of a full novel. The story excels as a masterclass for the epic fantasy genre, in atmosphere, breathless pacing, and the seamless fusion of grand combat complemented with claustrophobic cosmic horror. It remains one of the definitive pillars of sword and sorcery stories.